Hello trucker family, this is Kevin with the Trucker Side. We're back here today with a video that we think is very important. We think everybody in the trucking industry needs to watch this, everybody needs to share it, and everybody needs to talk about it because this is a problem we're all having. If you're a part of the trucking industry, whether you're a driver, a company driver, an owner operator, a trucking company, small or big, this is a problem that affects everybody. So this is a problem that we all need to address. And I want everybody to take this very seriously. And I want everybody to share this with as many people as they know, because this problem is real and this problem is hurting everybody in the industry, from drivers to companies to every single person. And that is turnover. The turnover in trucking, guys, is ridiculous. I'm sure everybody knows this, but I don't see anybody doing something about it. And I really think that it's our duty, each of us that is a part of the trucking industry, is our duty to do something about it. If we each do a little bit, then this difference is going to be huge, and this is going to help everybody. So stay tuned all the way to the end. Please follow this video all the way to the end, because if you are a part of the trucking industry, this concerns you a lot, and share it with others because it concerns them as well. We are in a very, very bad spot. So I'll start with the beginning. The turnover in trucking is not the number of people that are leaving the industry. No, the turnover in trucking is the churn between carriers, is the people that move back and forth within the same companies. And this number is close to 100%. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that nobody keeps a job long enough to where they can account for it. And I've been seeing this from the perspective of a recruiter or a company owner, where drivers come in and out and they move. And then when I look at an application, I see drivers that worked for 5 or 6 companies per year throughout the last years. Guys, somebody wave a red flag, guys. Seriously, somebody wave some red flags around and let's stop. Let's take a step back and let's consider all of this. This is bad. This is bad for drivers. This is bad for companies. This is bad for the industry. And I gotta say, as a trucking passionate and as a trucker, as a natural born trucker, I have to say this is bad and we have to change this. I'm ashamed of the way we run things, all of us, from the first to the last. There's no exceptions here. There's no I do things right, everybody else does them wrong. No, everybody does them wrong. This turnover is general, and this turnover is a problem for everybody. Therefore, everybody needs to do something about it in order for the situation to get better. I'm going to start with some numbers over here that I've been seeing, and I think that they're mind-blowing. Company drivers, right? I'm going to start with company drivers, then I'm going to talk about owner operators, then I'm going to talk about companies. So that's why I'm saying make sure you follow all the way to the end. Make sure you share this, because I want everybody in trucking to see this. It's a problem for everybody. Over 30% of the drivers that start a new job leave within the first 3 months. Guys, you don't have time in 3 months to understand the true colors of a company. And if you do have time in 3 months to understand the true colors of a company, it means that the due diligence you did in the beginning was wrong. It was bad. The research you did on that company was bad. Guys, we're in 2026. There's Google reviews, there's phones, there's people, there's websites, there's information everywhere. Use it. Use it. Don't just make a phone call, listen to a high amount that'll pay you per mile, and all of a sudden do your math and say, oh, I'm going to make $3,000 a week. No, you're not going to make $3,000 a week as a company driver unless it's for a very brief amount of time and the market is really good. Those are not the things you need to be looking for, and this specifically is addressed to company drivers. Stop picking a job based on the pay per mile that you hear from a recruiter. This recruiter will tell you anything you want to hear just to get you in through the door, and that will not be efficient for you. You will end up biting the bullet one way or another. I got another number here that I want to share. Fewer than 40% of the drivers that start a new job make it to a year. So that means that it's less than 40% of people in trucking that find a job, start with it, and then work there for a year. Guys, this is embarrassing. We are the laughing stock of all the industries around in trucking. This is bad. This number works against all of us, and they create tensions between drivers and companies and preconceptions where people think, drivers think that the company will screw them over automatically, and then companies think that drivers won't do their job, so they don't pay them accordingly. Everybody needs to understand that this is a vicious circle that we need to stop. It's a vicious circle and it's affecting everybody. So please, again, I'm gonna keep insisting throughout the video that everybody shares this, because I think it affects everybody, and I think that we each need to put a little bit of effort into it in order to make these changes. I'm gonna talk about some of the things that bother drivers, and I want companies and management of companies and recruiters to listen to this, because these are some of the major problems why the turnover is so big when it comes to company drivers. The pay, first of all, and I'm not just talking about the level of pay. I know there's big competition between how many cents per mile everybody pays, but everybody needs to look at the entire picture. There's too much variability in pay. Unpaid sitting, detention, breakdowns. These guys are on the road. Drivers are on the road when these things happen. They're away from home and they're not getting paid. That is not okay. That is not okay for anybody. So if you want a decent pay schedule, make sure you account for all the time that the driver is working. And yes, I know that the truck is not making money when it's broke down, but also understand that if you want to keep a driver and not have to hire drivers on and on and on, you're going to have to pay these guys when they're sitting, because otherwise they're not making any money. They're going to go somewhere else where they're promised. And then our vicious circle keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning. That is not what we want. Then the second major problem is the home time. And this specific aspect of home time when it comes to over the road, this is where the industry falls chronically ill, because trucks need to be out for weeks or months at a time. It is very hard. It's hard on people, and a lot of companies don't understand this. But also address this from the driver's perspective. Dude, if you're not cut out to be out 2 months, don't sign up for the job. Say no from the beginning, because you sign up for a specific home time, then it's too much, then you realize you cannot take care of your personal stuff, you got to go home sooner, so now you're not honoring your deal, then the company is not going to want to honor the deal. Here we are in the same vicious circle. How about you take a step back before you say yes to a job, analyze the information, make sure that the conditions work for you, make sure it's something you can do long term, only then say yes, because it's going to be more efficient in the end if you take a few weeks to research a company and then pull the trigger and hop into a job, rather than hopping into a job for 2 days. And I have to call this out. I've spoken to so many people that want to get into a truck after 2 days or 3. Guys, stop. Seriously. You're cutting the branch from underneath your feet, and it is not okay. Stop this. I need to work by tomorrow. You've obviously made some mistakes. If you got in that point, at least take a step back now and reconsider. But not to get sidetracked, I'm going to continue with the reasons why company drivers move, the bigger problems of the industry on top of the pay and the home time. Then detention, again, I said that, but I'm going to repeat it because I want everybody to understand it. Detention is rarely paid, waiting times are long, overtime is not really paid ever, and truck drivers are on the road 24 hours a day, and I don't think they should be paid 24 hours a day, because the industry doesn't pay like that, but that should be somewhere amounted in the pay schedule. Then there's a big problem with truck parking shortages, which ends up being very frustrating for people. And there's basic dignity issues like restroom facility access and stuff like that, where I do think that some facilities should reconsider the way they treat drivers, because these guys are in the truck all the time, and the facilities sometimes they have are bad. And I don't want to sell any Girl Scout cookies over here or beat around the bushes. They're bad. And people who accommodate truck drivers in any way, whether it's a repair shop, whether it's a warehouse, a shipper, a receiver, anything, you need to have some room for these guys to sit down. You need to have a restroom for them to use, and preferably, if possible, I know this is trickier, a shower. A shower I can understand if you don't have, but I've seen repair shops where drivers wait outside. Don't keep that guy in the rain or the sun 5 or 6 hours till you fix the truck. If you don't have the means to sit them down, make the means as a warehouse or as a repair shop. Create this means and sit these people down. Don't let them be cold in the winter. Don't let them be hot in the summer. Sit them down somewhere, give them some coffee so they can patiently wait for the things you're doing, rather than come over and annoy you. When are you done? When are you done? When are you done? I'm sure if anybody sits outside for 6 hours, they're going to come and be like, hey, when are you done? When are you done? Because it gets annoying. So let's address these problems from the root. Another thing that I want companies to consider when they think about the things I've just been saying is the cost of replacing a company driver. The cost of replacing a company driver based on numbers in 2024 is around $13,000. Yes, 13000, $13,000 to replace a driver. It might not sound like that, but if you get your stuff in line, you will see that between recruiting, onboarding, orientation, lost productivity, the empty truck seating, and so on and so forth, that is where you're getting to. So once you sink this in as a trucking company, maybe you'll reconsider paying your guy a couple $100 rather than spending $13,000 to replace them, not knowing who you replace them with. So I do think that being more relationship oriented in this industry would help everybody, every single person that is a part of this industry. Now, let's talk a little bit about what would retain company drivers so that if companies do have this intention and they want to make some changes, they have a little bit of a guideline to go off of. Well, first of all, respect them, guys. I gotta say that that's where a lot of people fall short. Truck drivers are not respected as human beings. Respect them as human beings. This should be common sense, but common sense these days is not as common, so unfortunately we need to push it forward some more. If you respect them, give them predictable and transparent pay. Don't promise them something and then not give it to them, or promise them something, give it to them on one hand and get it back on the other. No, make sure the pay is transparent. Make sure that from the moment your driver gets the first settlement, he doesn't have questions. If the driver doesn't have questions on the settlement, means he understands what is on there, means that everything that's supposed to be on there is on there, nothing's missing, nothing's extra, so then everything is happy. The pay needs to be transparent. I've seen so many ways of putting together statements in trucking, and I need to say, cut the crap. Everybody, cut the crap. Be transparent, show the money to the drivers, stop beating around the bushes because it is affecting everybody. And again, I'm gonna say, share this video, please, because this is very important for the whole trucking industry. I don't care you're a one truck company, or you're a 10 truck company, or 1,000 truck company. These problems apply to everybody. This applies to drivers, owner operators, and companies. So again, please share this. It's very important to get this out to the people so we can do something about it. Then I got sidetracked again because of the importance of sharing this. Then pay the drivers for sitting. I know it sounds bad, but if the truck breaks down, it's not really their fault. All trucks break down. If you don't find a load for them, if you find a load that's too short, you pay a driver by the mile and then you give him a load that's 200 miles long. He's gonna want more money. Why? Because he could have driven more. He didn't leave the house to be away from his family, to be 5 states away from his family, just so he can drive 200 miles a day. Pay him by the day, or pay him a fixed salary, and then give him as many miles as you want. See if he's gonna be happy. I'm telling you, he's gonna be happy. So try and take better care of the drivers, communicate with them, honor home time promises. Guys, this is bad. Like, I don't want to say this like this, but I have to. Trucking companies are full of shit. They promise anything drivers want to hear just to get them in the truck, and then they don't give them anything. This does not help. This brings down the industry. This brings the turnover up, and we need to do something about that. The worst thing you can do as a trucking company is have a recruiter promise something to a driver and then have the dispatch break it on the first week or the first time the driver's out. Of course, he's going to want to leave. Do you want to keep hiring drivers on and on and on? Or do you want some consistency in your company? Honor the home time, guys. Honor the home time. Then another thing I recommend, the first 90 days when somebody starts, because this is crucial. Studies show that the first 3 months are crucial when it comes to retention. Put the time and the effort in those 3 months so you can make somebody comfortable, get a driver in, make sure he feels like home, make sure he knows who he needs to call, and that person gets the phone. Assign a driver manager, or assign the named person to follow up with, so that the driver knows any problems they have, they can reach out to this person. This person is there. Even if that's not the person that will solve the problem itself, that's the person that can guide them to the right person. Maybe they don't know the information for the safety manager, or somebody in accounting, or somebody in maintenance. Have a person that's readily available to get the phone, guide them the right way, so that when they have a problem, they don't feel like they're abandoned. This is a huge problem and it sucks, trust me. I'm telling you from the perspective of a driver, you're having problems with the truck, you're stuck on the side of the road and nobody's getting the phone, you feel like the last being on earth, and that is not okay. You're not in a safe spot, you're in a dangerous spot on the shoulder of the interstate. Somebody needs to get the phone right there and then and address the problem.